What I love most is when I'm sitting in a hut and the people there have forgotten about me and they go back to their regular life and I get to witness it. That is my favorite thing about my job. I just suddenly disappear into a different culture and am somehow accepted and forgotten. Because that's when the real pictures come. That's when intimate moments play out and I get to be there. That's what I live for. When I started at National Geographic, I was one of the first women, but I was also the youngest by a good bit. I was so inexperienced. I was very intimidated and very apprehensive, working harder than I'd ever worked in my life. This was a completely new deal for me. I'd never been east of Ohio. And suddenly there I am at National Geographic working in 3 or 4 different countries on a project. I've had assignments where I traveled on camels or elephants. You really need to be a very flexible human being doing this job. And it's not for everyone, but for me, it's hallelujah time. With my first pregnancy, with my daughter Lily, she went to 13 countries in utero. I got in the habit of packing all my lenses and cameras in Pampers. I didn't mention that I was going to be traveling with my children. And they never inquired because they never asked the guys about their child care operations. Women are a minority in this business and certainly were when I started, but I could do things that men could never do. I could be in situations that men could never be in. So I feel like I got a huge advantage being a woman. Most of the stories I've shot for National Geographic have been stories that I proposed. Finding your subjects and earning their trust is the most important thing. The best way to appear non-threatening is through body language. So I spend a lot of time on my knees and a lot of time on the floor. I want to be the least threatening thing they've ever encountered. I've had entire days with people where neither one of us knew a syllable of each other's language, but it was fine. As I started traveling overseas, the human stories that constantly drew me in were usually about women. It's a pet peeve of mine that women in the developing world are almost entirely seen as helpless victims. It is just not accurate. They are survivors, and also many of them live in very loving families. At a certain point, I realized that I wanted my photographs to be useful as well as beautiful. So we started Ripple Effect Images. And now I basically have a full-time unpaid job and a full-time paid job.
Good morning. Hi.
My work with Ripple Effect Images is my way of informing and raising awareness. She said these were all babies that were malnourished, right?
And now they're really healthy, yeah.
And now are really healthy because of the training. We document programs that provide solutions for women and children in really challenging circumstances. Any photographer that's out in the real world sees things that are tragic and things that anger you and things that make you incredibly sad. The hardest thing for me is to not be able to pack up some of these children who have a really dismal future ahead of them. But you can only do what you can do. I actually had kind of a crisis when I was in a terrible refugee camp in Kenya. It was enormous. 90,000 refugees. It was the most barren, inhospitable piece of land you could imagine. And I met this young Somali woman. She had a very sick baby. As I photographed her, I don't know, I just thought maybe I shouldn't be doing this. I don't think maybe I'm can't make a difference. But I did my job, and 2 years later, I was in Richmond, Virginia, in a refugee coordinator's office. And I saw the picture I had taken on the wall. And he said, oh yeah, they're one of our families and she's working at Kentucky Fried Chicken. It was all fine. When I heard she made it out of that camp, I was just so elated. That encounter I had with her, it was brief, but it really changed me. And I would love to be able to tell her how she helped me.
Look at you. Look, there's Mommy. See Mama?
It was my crisis moment where I questioned what I was doing. And the fact that my photographs helped the aid organization that got her out of there really made me commit to doing this for the rest of my life. I absolutely believe you can make a difference using photography. Ripple Effect Images continues to donate compelling storytelling materials to the aid groups that lift women and children out of poverty. In the last 6 years, we've gotten reports back saying that they've been able to raise over $10 million using our assets. If I can provide that perspective that motivates people to be more open-minded and kinder and more generous, then that's what I want to do. That's my legacy.